Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station is ready for the event.
NBC Nightly News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Stand by. I've always wanted to say this. International Space Station, this is Brian Williams at NBC News in New York. How do you read?
Hello, Brian. We hear you loud and clear.
Nice to have you, and I guess we'll get underway. First off, what's it like working with Sandra Bullock?
We have yet to see Sandra Bullock up here, but we continue to look for her.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I hear from so many astronauts who enjoyed the movie. Well, we'll get serious first. It is true that gravity was probably the best geographic lesson in the confines of the ISS that a lot of Americans have had since the inception of the ISS. But recently you were in the news. A few people here on Earth had some fun with you with the snorkel and the helmet and the absorbent pads to keep from drowning, but you had a couple of spacewalks to fix a problem. NASA loves redundancies. There was a redundancy for the pump that broke, but still it required you to go out and do some repair work, the two of you. Talk us through that in lay terms, what it required and how things are running now.
Yeah, I'll give you a big picture. Basically, we have two cooling systems up here that cool basically half the equipment. These cooling systems are external. They cool the internal systems. And one of the pump modules had a problem. Basically, a valve wasn't working properly, so we lost half our cooling. Very simply, we had to go outside and replace the pump module unit. It's a big 800-pound unit, and that required a series of EVAs, or spacewalks. So the ground team got together. This is something we practice on a regular basis in the large swimming pool in Houston. The ground folks got together, sent us up some procedures. And the first spacewalk a couple of weeks ago, we removed the old pump module, and then in the second spacewalk we installed the new pump module. Space station's back up, everything is running perfectly. We're back to doing science on a regular basis.
And back to life on board the spacecraft. You orbit roughly every 90 minutes. You travel the distance from the Earth to the moon on a daily basis. How cognizant are you at any one time about where you are over the Earth?
Yeah, it's very interesting because when you get busy inside here, there's not a lot of windows to look out, and so you can kind of forget where you are. And we have what we call a world map on board that is always tracking where the station is. So a lot of times you'll get busy and you want to know where you are, so you have to take a look at that world map, and if it's somewhere you're interested in taking a picture, then you can run to one of the windows and try and get a picture of it.
But other than that, it's a working environment. There's no sense of speed or motion at 17,500 miles an hour, and it's just another day/night on board the ISS, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You really don't get the sense of that speed until you do look out the windows and you see just how fast the Earth is going by below you. It's quite incredible when we have a pass that goes over the United States, and it's probably less than 10 minutes that it takes to go over the United States. So it happens quick, but on a normal day, we kind of control night and day just by turning on and off the lights in here.
Homesickness can't be an option for people in your line of work, but what is it like being up there for the holidays, some terrific college football games, the NFL playoffs, whatever it is that you follow here on Earth?
Yeah, anytime you're away from home during the holidays, it's hard. There's hundreds of thousands of military folks and a lot of folks who spend time away from their families during the holidays, and they all know how it feels, and we feel the same way. But if you have to be, the way we think about it is if you have to be away from home during the holidays, there's not too many places better than being here on board the International Space Station in low Earth orbit. But we have pretty good connectivity with our families at home. We have what we call the IP phone, a telephone that we can call home almost any time of the day. We have video conferencing with our families about once a week. And, of course, we have email. So we're pretty well connected to our families. And as far as football games go, Mike and I both enjoy football. And the ground is more than happy to send us up a football game every now and then.
Now, judging from where you're both from, I'm taking a guess here that we are Chiefs Patriots, but that could be wildly off the mark. What are your teams?
Well, unfortunately, the Chiefs have already gone home for the season, but yeah, I would say the Chiefs, the Rams, I guess, would be. But right now we're down in Houston, so I've kind of become a Texan fan.
Well, you're going to do very well in the next draft, I'll put it that way. And Rick, what about you?
Yeah, Brian, I grew up in Connecticut, kind of halfway between New York and Boston, and I grew up as a Giants fan, a New York Giants fan, and I'm still a big fan of the Giants, and of course, I'm a fan of the Texans also.
I knew I liked you for some reason. We all bleed Giants blue, all the good people down here. Moving on to the Olympic Games, how much of the Olympics will you be able to see, either live or tape delay? I don't know the extent of your television viewing. And, of course, you'll get a better view of Sochi, Russia, than most of us looking right down during your orbits on the venues themselves.
Yeah, actually, we passed right over Sochi area yesterday, and I actually got some great photographs of the area and tweeted some of those. As far as the Olympic goes, I'm sure that the NASA folks are more than willing to give us some live feeds and also some tape delay stuff that they could uplink some video for us. So I'm sure once we give them a list of the different events that we want to see, they'll be happy to send them up to us.
Of course, it's tough to top. You guys had Commander Chris Hadfield of Canada up there, who famously became kind of the YouTube voice of the International Space Station. He made some fabulous instructional how-to videos, how to brush your teeth and how a sandwich is made and how the bathroom works up there. And famously, Commander Hadfield produced and recorded Space Oddity, ground control to Major Tom from space, the first time that's ever been done. I don't know what you plan to top that, whether there's a spring production of Hello Dolly in the works.
Well, it would be hard to top Commander Hadfield, Chris Hadfield, and really, to be all honest, you don't want to hear Rick or I sing. It wouldn't be very good.
There's a lesson in that, though. He really did personalize space travel, and if you look at some of the sessions he did Q&A with especially Canadian students, it was really terrific. What would be your wish if the American people knew one thing and would really concentrate on the fact that this many adults are hurtling around the Earth every 90 minutes conducting experiments on this massive football field-sized spacecraft that's slowly been growing and growing and growing over the years? What is it that you'd like people to know and understand about the International Space Station?
Yeah, I think actually partly of what you just said is the fact that we do have the International Space Station up here, and it's been going now for over 10 years. And for over 10 years, we've had an American presence, a human presence in space 365 days out of the year, and that's pretty incredible. And we're doing a lot of exciting things up here, particularly in the fields of science. And what that is going to lead to is eventual exploration beyond low Earth orbit. And so I think that's very exciting, and I'd like to see people all across the country get excited about that as well.
Rick, same question.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to add to that. I worked the shuttle program for many years and got the opportunity to fly on the shuttle many times. And I've heard from many different folks, oh, is NASA going out of business? And I think the most important thing to know is NASA never went out of business. The shuttle program ended, but the space station program is going strong. And like Mike said, we're up here doing research 365 days a year and have been doing so for many, many, many years, and will continue to do so. And we're also building and designing new vehicles, and NASA has a bright future ahead of it.
I guess the American astronauts during this era do have to get used to splashdown on land because the Soviets are our ride. How much of a transition has that been, Rick?
Yeah, it's been quite a bit of a transition. You know, going from shuttle training to Soyuz training was quite interesting for me, and it was a heck of a challenge, actually, but it was very enjoyable. To actually learn how to fly and operate another spacecraft was a rare opportunity for an astronaut, so I really enjoyed it. The biggest challenge, of course, is the language, just learning how to speak and use the Russian language in a way so that you can operate the vehicle and talk with mission control.
Of course, I just called them Soviets, proving that I'm about 20 years out of date. What did, as in your civilian life, as you relate to family and friends, what has the movie Gravity done to the astronaut business and to the understanding of the International Space Station? And other than the fact that Sandra Bullock's hair is not flying around in the movie and experts have found little nits to pick about the movie, has it been, you think, overall a good thing?
I think anytime you bring attention to the space program, I know I personally am get very excited about it because again, we really enjoy what we do up here. We're very proud of what NASA has accomplished, and we think it's great when the American public pays attention and understands exactly what we're doing up here. As far as the movie goes, I saw the movie before launch back in Moscow a couple of months ago, and it was very entertaining, and we enjoyed it quite a bit.
I've always told folks here in this country there are any number of websites you can go in, type in your zip code wherever you happen to be, and it'll tell you when the next overflight is of the ISS. And on a clear night, if you're away from light pollution, it's just a breathtaking sight to behold. I saw you guys, we were in the Midwest, and I saw you guys fly over about a week ago. What is it that you have noticed about Earth? What perspective have you gained on the planet Earth? You see it all. You see weather, volcanoes, tragedies, beauty, all in the course of a day's work. What is the one thing?
Yeah, you know, it's quite interesting. What surprised me about getting our view of Earth is there's not a part of the Earth that isn't absolutely beautiful. I was quite surprised as we went over regions that are like deserts, and I wouldn't think that would have a lot of beauty to it. But then you see how these sand dunes are formed by the winds, and these just amazing patterns in the sand dunes. And what I found then is that as we go around the Earth, every part of it it is just absolutely beautiful. Now, one of the things you did mention is perspective, and it is easy to lose perspective up here because when you see things like a hurricane, from our view, absolutely beautiful, these huge cloud formations, and it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that there's tragedy happening down below that, and so we always need to keep that in mind.
Mike, I've always wondered how much detail can you see? Is there an Earth landmark that you can make out that surprised you? How big does something have to be visible, whether it's a building or Red Square or the mall in Washington? Give us some perspective. I guess you're roughly just north of 200 miles off?
Yeah, we're about 260 miles up, and with the naked eye, you know, you can see the cities just in general, but what's really neat is when you start to use the cameras and you take the photos of them and you can zoom in and you can really start to see quite a bit of detail. You can see airplanes at the airport, you can see boats on rivers, and so that's kind of exciting to be flying over that. You see the city that you want to take a picture of, and then you take that picture and you can zoom in with quite a bit of detail on some of those features.
And isn't it true, Rick, you've watched rocket launches come up and go past you out into space?
Other astronauts have. We have yet to see. I think Mike might have seen something.
Yeah, actually, when I first arrived, this was before Rick and Koichi arrived up here. We had the opportunity to see a test missile launch out of Russia, out of Baikonur in Kazakhstan, and it was absolutely incredible. When you saw the smoke trail as it launched into orbit, and then once it got into orbit, there was just a absolutely huge cloud that formed in space and got very large, and so absolutely incredible view, and we actually were lucky and got some great pictures of it.
Well, Mike, starting with you, as we are wrapping up here, what is your wish for 2014 and your message to the folks here on planet Earth?
Well, I know right now, obviously, things have been pretty rough down in the U.S. and actually all over with the weather and everything. So first and foremost would be that everybody stays safe throughout 2014, and of course would like to say hello to my family and friends and everybody out there, and look forward to for both of us safe landings this year as well.
Same question, Rick.
Yeah, and for me, yeah, okay, for me, obviously the same thing, top of my head. My New Year's resolution is to have a safe landing on the planet Earth sometime this year, of course. And to all the folks on Earth, you know, there's so many things that you wish for the whole planet, but when you are kind of flying above all these different countries and all these different regions, and you kind of see them all as just one big planet, it sure makes you wish that obviously folks can put aside their differences and I hate to quote it, but you know, just get along with each other. And I think it's great. Something that makes me very happy is to see the Olympics, and I think it's going to be exciting to get all the countries come together and even that for those short period of time work together.
Well, a lot of us envy the vantage point you'll have on all of it. Thank you, gentlemen, for the work you do. Thank you very much for representing NASA up there, and thank you most of all for spending time with us today. We'll have a good time with this on television, and we'll continue to spread the story of the ISS to our viewers. Happy and healthy 2014 to you both.
Thank you, Brian. We enjoyed talking to you, and we watch your show every day at lunchtime, and we appreciate the information.
Hey, thanks for trying to find that house in Australia. I appreciate it. I won't ask for my own house, but thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, you bet, Brian. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Houston, and everybody down the line.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.
NBC Nightly News. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.